Hey guys, Sandy here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am scrapbooking in my Disneyland album, and we are using a sketch by Tara Van Morsel. Her Instagram is Tara Scraps. This is the sketch right here. Lots of hexagons. I can guarantee you I will not be doing hexagons, but I am going to be using these photos. Now this was meant to be a 2-page spread. But I have 6 photos, and the sketch has 5. So I'm not sure if I'm going to still do that, or if I'm going to cut down the photos to make them more look like 5 photos in the sketch. I haven't figured that out, but I will. So let's see what I can do. Hey guys, so I went ahead and pulled out some papers, and the papers that I pulled out aren't quite an exact match, but I thought that they would work together good enough. Spoiler alert, they do not, and I do switch gears a little bit. So in the sketch, there are these big kind of layered up hexagons going across both portions of the two 12 by 12 sides, right? Like the left and the right hand side. Now, I told you guys I wasn't doing the hexagons. And I do know that hexagons are a lot of people's favorite shapes to work with. I do like a hexagon every once in a while. Not my favorite. So I decided I was not going to do that. What I was going to do instead was do big blocks of rectangles and squares and have them across the page. Now, I really wanted these to mirror each other. So that was a struggle in and of itself to not actually do that. Now I picked this polka dotted paper because the greens were close enough in the large part, and then it had this brighter, almost neon green around the outside of the larger circles. And I was like, oh, for that, that expanse across the bottom there, this one's going to be great for that because it matches the green. And then I was like, no, I don't like this at all. It's not singing to me. You know what I mean? It's not saying, yeah, we are papers that almost all coordinate and you can make it work, which I love to do. I love taking a stack of papers where most people would be like, ooh, no, and then making it work. These, they weren't working for me, you guys. I couldn't do it with these. I think the problem was they were too many patterns, and too many colors, right? It just wasn't, nope, wasn't what we wanted for this portion of our lives, right? Like we're just gonna say no. So I get rid of those papers, and then I'm thinking about what paper I will actually bring in to make work, right? Like what paper will work. Now, I really liked this triangle paper with the other paper that was up at the top because it had bits of a variety of colors, right? Like it's got the blue, it's got some pink, it's got some of the peachy bits in there, and I'm like, this is great. Like this one is a total match that it'll work. And then I was like, oh, well, this blue paper, this light blue, it's not an exact match, but it will work, right? Like the blues all work together, and the blue color looks nice against the striped bits of color. So wasn't stressing about that. I figured that would be something that would work quite well. So I was excited for that one. And then I'm like, okay, and we don't have an exact replica over top of each other, right? Like the squares are kind of layered up, but they're not layered up the exact same everywhere, which is what I wanted to avoid. And I am digging the colors, and I just need to bring in some of this green because the greens are kind of hugging the outside of that they're hugging the outside of that upper paper there, and that's what needs to happen, right? So I'm like, okay, so I need to make this happen some way. Not exactly sure how, but that is what needs to happen. I need to make that happen. And then I decided, you know what? We're just going to bring in some washi tapes because I don't really like how the stripes are just kind of hitting that pink paper. And then I am stupid excited because that is the end of the roll of washi tape. So I was able to use up an entire roll. So I'm like, yes, we're cooking with gas now. All the good things are happening. So now I pull out my cardstock because I have discovered that, couldn't say discovered there for a second, discovered that I am using a lot of colored cardstock with this album. And again, that is something that makes me happy because I am using up some supplies, right? Like using up supplies. Oh, you guys, it's so good. It's so good. I'm definitely not one of those scrapbookers that hoard everything because the way I see it, the more I use up, the more I get to shop because that means I get to purchase new supplies. I do trim down the 4x6 photos. They end up going down to 4x5.5. And that is so I can use a 12x12 sheet of paper to just make sure that I'm going to be able to have photo mats for all of the photos. Now, I said in the intro that I wasn't sure if I was going to be introducing, not introducing, girl, why can't you speak right now? If I was going to be bringing in, no, why can't the word come out of my mouth right now, you guys? If I was going to be cutting up my photos and doing something a little bit different with them versus having the 3 photos on one side and the 2 on the other. And I end up doing that. I end up cutting down 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I end up cutting down all 4 photos down to 3x4 photos. And again, I am matting them on that green paper because I want it to bring that green down into the layout as well and not just on the upper outside ends where that striped paper is. So that turns out great. I'm going to go ahead and get these matted. I am going to use some fun foam on here because I'm feeling like there needs to be a little something. I was toying with the idea of distressing the edges of all of the papers, but then I decided that no, that was not really a look that I wanted to, really go for in this album. Watch, I say that and I'll probably end up with some sort of distressed edge somewhere. But in this case, I didn't need it. I am going to be very selective with how I choose the photos and how they are going to overlap each other. I picked the ones that had a little bit more space to overlap with the 2 Merlin photos on the left-hand side. I specifically cut one a little bit higher than the other. And then with the other 2 photos, basically I'm covering up a random person's foot in the edge of the photo. I don't need that. Nobody needs a random person's foot in the edge of the photo there. So I go ahead and get that done, which makes me happy that it is done. And then I am going to bring in that line that goes across both pages. And there's also a pretty large scallop on top of that line. And I didn't really want to bring in my humper border. So what I'm going to do is bring in a couple of decorative tapes. This one is a Scotch brand tape, I do believe. that's got like cutouts, diagonal cutouts on it. Um, and then what I'm going to do after that is bring in kind of this sparkle washi tape that is going to connect right on top of here. Now, this is a blue color, which makes me happy. I do love this washi tape. I don't technically know if this is washi tape or glitter tape or what the proper term for it is. All I know is that I like it, and I use it, right? Like, it's good to use the stuff that you actually like. Um, so anyway, I do rip that washi tape apart a little bit. I guess I just didn't know my own strength. Um, and then I get it to get back together. So there's a little bit of a decorative bit there instead of the humper border. Now I need to figure out my title. And I knew that I wanted to use this word phrase somehow within the layout. I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted it to be, but I do get that figured out. So it does say the scenic route, which, you know, kind of makes sense since it is a parade route. That's definitely scenic, you guys, right? So I'm figuring that out. And then I decided that the title was going to say the lovely scenic route. And I'm going to keep the title up here. Very, very similar placement to where it is on the sketch. Which, you know, makes me happy that I'm kind of following the sketch. Since I completely disregarded a main element of the sketch, which was that hexagon background. I was like, oh, it would be nice if I followed at least a little bit of the sketch, right? Like, we're like, okay, we can do it a little bit, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring in some little decorative bits. Nothing really planned here. It's just a matter of what looks good and what I'm grabbing at the moment. So there's a floral, there's some hearts, there's an arrow. I am getting into some of the 49 and market things, and I'm just trying to figure out where exactly is the best place to put all of the decorative bits, right? It's kind of a like a puzzle where you're going to sit there and figure out exactly where you want everything to go. I do only end up with one tag on this layout, even though I really tried to have two. The reason why I wanted to have two was so that I could have a bow on each side of the layout. But in this case, it did not work. And then that one tag, and it says magic, which is completely perfect for a Disney layout. I cover up the magic word, right? Like, that tag is tucked underneath of the tickets. And the reason why I put some decorations there was because it just seemed like a big expanse of triangle paper, and I needed something there. I'm going to use this crochet thread to tie a bow and do a little dollop of glue in the tag hole, because as you know, there are no naked tag holes. Like, previous Sandy had naked tag holes, but in this case, there are no naked tag holes. And a little dollop of Nuvo, it's perfect in that little tag hole. So I've got the bow on there, and now it's just a matter of doing a couple little bits and bobs at the end. I put this kind of tab label there, and I just wrote Main Street USA. And now I'm going to mess around with the idea of putting in another tag, but nothing really works. So I take a nod from the sketch where there is strips, and I'm thinking that that's strips for journaling. But honestly, I'm not journaling. It's parade. Okay, just parade. So I pull out a couple of these word phrases, and just kind of layer them up there. Now, I could have found more word phrases and layered them up in the upper right hand corner of the layout too, just like in the sketch, but ultimately I decided that this was where I wanted to stop. Okay? Okay. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you check out the 30 Days of Sketches playlist down below, because YouTube isn't always fighting with me and it's allowing me to add to the playlist. And that is going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again real soon for another video.